If you love real emotional stories, hit subscribe. We post one every week. Wait, what money, Mom? Emily froze, clutching the backpack she was unpacking. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were blank. For a split second, everything inside me went still. The $3,000 a month, I said carefully. For your college fund, your SAT tutoring, remember? She just blinked. I don't know what you're talking about. My stomach dropped. 10 months. $30,000. Gone. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I'm a forensic accountant. I deal in facts, not feelings. Go relax, honey, I told her softly. Put on a movie. I'll be right there. The second her door clicked shut, I opened my laptop. 10 wire transfers, each one to the joint account I shared with my parents, Richard and Diane. Every transaction cleared. Every receipt legitimate. And every cent stolen. No confrontation. Not yet. Containment first. I logged into the bank, froze the account, rerouted what was left into a new one under my name alone, and locked everything down before they even knew I was onto them. Richard and Diane had taken Emily in while I was on a long corporate audit overseas. They lived in a beautiful suburb, manicured lawns, picture-perfect smiles. I thought I was giving my daughter stability while I secured our future. I was wrong. That money wasn't charity, it was an agreement. $5,000 for the prep course. The rest for her college savings. But my father always said, trust, but verify. I hadn't. The next morning, I knew before I even saw it. The air in their house felt wrong. The kitchen was brighter, too bright. New marble counters. A gleaming espresso machine that screamed luxury. And right beside it, a stack of glossy travel brochures for a Maui resort. Diane walked in, smiling like a hostess in her own commercial. Coffee, sweetheart? She asked. I watched the steam rise from her new toy, my pulse steady, my face neutral. How did Emily do in that SAT course? I asked lightly. She waved her hand, not missing a beat. Oh, you know how anxious she gets. She didn't end up taking it. We thought it was for the best. That smile didn't flicker once. But I didn't need her to admit anything. I already had the evidence. And this time, I wasn't just her daughter. I was her investigator. I told her it was fine to quit, I said quietly. If it was too much pressure. But inside, I knew better. Emily doesn't quit. She's the girl who practices soccer drills until the field lights shut off, who taught herself coding from YouTube tutorials. That was line number 1. Before I could say more, my sister Megan strolled in, 31, still living off our parents, and swinging a shiny new designer purse. I glanced at the bag, then at her. New purse, new attitude. She smirked. What? She said. Mom and Dad are basically raising your kid. You think sending a little cash gives you a say? You're never here, Claire. Stop acting like you're some hero. That was it. The moment I understood. They didn't feel guilty, they felt justified. They thought I was the problem. They'd built a story where they were the victims, and I was the ungrateful one. They'd stolen from me, twisted it, and convinced themselves it was moral. I had to get Emily out. Lunch, just us, I told her. Away from the sparkling counters and fake smiles. We sat in a small diner booth, half-empty plates between us. She picked at her fries, shoulders tense. Emily, I said softly. I'm not angry. I just need the truth. What's been going on? Her eyes darted up, fearful, searching. They said you weren't coming home, she whispered. My pulse stuttered. What? They said the project overseas failed, she continued, her voice cracking. That you were in debt. That you didn't want me to know. The air left my lungs. The new kitchen. The handbag. The Hawaii brochures. All paid for while my parents told my daughter I was failing. They said we had to be careful, she whispered, that me being here was expensive. So I quit soccer. You quit soccer. But you love soccer. She nodded. My cleats broke. Grandma said new ones were $80, and we just couldn't afford it. $80. They couldn't spare $80 for her cleats, but could spend $10,000 on countertops. My anger wasn't fire, it was ice. Then came the blow that cracked it all open. My laptop kept crashing, she said. Grandma said we couldn't afford a new one, so, her voice wavered. I sold it, Mom. I sold Dad's guitar. Everything inside me collapsed. Not just any guitar, Richard's vintage Gibson. The one I'd kept for her, the last piece of him she had. She'd sold it at a pawn shop to buy a laptop for school because she didn't want to be a burden to her struggling mother. That wasn't just theft. That was manipulation. They hadn't only taken our money, they'd poisoned her mind. Made her feel guilty for needing love, for existing. It was psychological accounting, and my parents were laundering shame. The grief lasted maybe half a minute. Then the auditor in me surfaced. The mother went quiet. The professional woke up. These numbers would balance. I paid the check, calm as ever. As we walked out, I took out my phone. Not to call my parents. Not Megan. I dialed my aunt, the only person my father ever feared. Aunt Trish, I said, voice steady. I need your help. I'm opening an investigation, on my own family. And in that moment, the daughter in me died. The forensic accountant took over. The grief went into a box, locked tight. The forensic accountant took over. My anger wasn't fire, it was ice. I called my Aunt Patricia, Trish, my father's sister, family matriarch, and the sharpest lawyer in the state. I told her everything, the missing $30,000, the lies, the new countertops, the guitar. Silence hung on the line for a long, cold beat. Then she said, get everything. Every receipt, every statement, every school record. Build the file, Claire. I'll be ready. That was all I needed. I spent the rest of the day doing exactly that. I found the pawn shop slip for the vintage guitar, $1,200. I downloaded Emily's school records showing her grades slipping, her official withdrawal from soccer. Then, back at my hotel, I started the real audit. I followed every cent from that joint account. Most of it was indulgence, lavish restaurants, oversized grocery bills, endless withdrawals. But then one transaction stopped me cold, $5,000 to Premier SAT tutoring services. My heart hammered. Emily never attended a single class. My mother had insisted she quit. This was my profession. I ran the business name through the state database. It was an LLC registered 11 months ago, just 1 week before I left for my overseas assignment. I paid for the full record, and when the name of the registered agent appeared, my stomach turned. Megan Reynolds. It hit me like a gavel. My sister hadn't just benefited, she'd orchestrated it. She'd created a fake tutoring company, issued false invoices, and split the money with our parents. Fraud. Calculated, deliberate fraud. And then I saw the kicker, a receipt for an $8,000 jet ski dated 3 days after my first transfer hit their account. This wasn't desperation. It was a plan. They'd waited for me to leave, plotted it, and executed it. I had the proof. Every receipt, every signature, every digital breadcrumb. This wasn't a family betrayal anymore, it was embezzlement. Thanksgiving dinner arrived, thick with the smell of roasted turkey and something sour, fear. My father, Richard, sat at the head of the table, puffed up like the old patriarch he pretended to be. My mother, Diane, flitted around, her smile stretched thin. Megan scrolled through her phone, manicured and smug. And beside me sat Aunt Trish, my guest, my witness, my quiet storm. We ate in brittle silence. My father raised his glass. "A lot to be thankful for this year," he said with forced cheer. I waited until the last fake chuckle faded, then tapped my water glass with my spoon. The sound was sharp, surgical. "I'd like to say something," I said evenly. Every head turned. "I want to give thanks. Specifically, to my overseas audit. It's incredible what that assignment managed to fund while I was away." My mother smiled, confused. "Oh yes, we're so glad you." "I'm thankful," I interrupted, "that my hard work helped finance some very creative family projects." The room froze. My father's jaw clenched. "Now hold on, Claire," he snapped. "We took care of Emily. You have no idea." Diane's voice went sharp. "The expenses, Claire, you can't imagine what it cost." Megan leaned back, smirking. "You're seriously guilt-tripping us? After all we did for you?" I met her eyes. Calm. Unflinching. "No," I said softly. "I'm not here for guilt." I reached down and pulled out a leather satchel. "I'm here for an audit." From inside, I lifted 3 spiral-bound books and set them neatly on the table. Each cover was printed with the same title in bold black letters. The Guardian's Ledger, an audit of accounts. And just like that, the room went silent. I slid the first binder across the gleaming dining table toward my parents. "That's for you." Then the second down to my sister. "That's yours." And finally, I placed the third gently beside Aunt Trish. "For counsel." Richard's hands trembled as he opened his copy. Diane just stared, frozen, like she was staring at a live grenade. "As you'll see," I said, my voice steady, "I've compiled a full accounting. 10 transfers, $30,000 total. You'll find the receipt for the $8,000 jet ski, purchased 3 days after my first deposit." My father's color drained. "You'll also see the $10,000 invoice for the granite countertops. Paid in full. And the $1,200 pawn shop receipt for my late husband's guitar." Diane let out a choked sound, covering her mouth. "And Megan," I said, locking eyes with my sister. "Appendix B contains the incorporation documents for your fake business, Premier Tutoring Services, registered 1 week before I left the country." Megan looked like she might throw up. Aunt Trish turned a page, her expression unreadable. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was cold steel. "A shell company? That's wire fraud. You committed this against your own niece." My mother broke first. Tears spilled down her face. "Claire, please," she whispered. "We're family. You'll destroy us." I stood, folded my napkin, and placed it on the table. "This isn't revenge, Mom. It's accounting." I nodded to my aunt. "On Monday morning, Trish will send over a restitution agreement. You'll repay the $30,000 principal, plus $1,200 for the guitar. You have 48 hours to sign." My father straightened, voice rough. "And if we don't?" "If you don't," I said, zipping my bag, "this report, with every piece of evidence of wire fraud and conspiracy, goes straight to the district attorney." I met his eyes. "The choice is yours." This was never a negotiation. Emily sat beside me, silent, her eyes wide. She looked shaken, but proud. "Come on, sweetheart," I said, holding out my hand. "We're going to a hotel." We walked out, leaving the binders, the ruined dinner, and what was left of my old family behind. They signed. Of course they did. Trish made sure of it. Under her supervision, my parents took out a second mortgage on the house they loved more than their own granddaughter. They repaid every cent, $31,200. The jet ski was sold before the engine cooled. Megan's punishment was quieter but sharper. Aunt Trish handled her fraud privately, meaning Megan's financial life now belonged to our aunt. No more designer handbags, no more easy money. But for me and Emily, this wasn't about revenge. It was about rebuilding. We moved into a new apartment downtown, high ceilings, sunlight through big windows, a view of the park. The first thing I bought wasn't furniture. It was a guitar. A beautiful one. Better than the one she'd sold. Watching her run her fingers over the strings, I saw something return, a light I thought I'd lost in her eyes. We both started therapy. To process the betrayal, yes, but mostly to unlearn the guilt they'd planted in her. A few weeks later, my firm called. The overseas audit had been a success. They were offering me a promotion, partner track, more travel, more prestige. I thanked them and declined. I didn't need the world. I needed my daughter. I took a steady 9-to-5 at the local office instead. Now, as I sit in our living room, Emily strumming her new guitar, music filling the air, I finally understand. Justice isn't about payback. It's about balance. It's about restoring what was broken and protecting what's left. Sometimes, to save yourself, you have to cut ties with those who taught you how to bleed. Family isn't a debt you owe, it's a home you build. Have you ever had to choose between peace and family? Share your story in the comments. And if our story resonated with you, subscribe for more stories of justice and healing.